You are listening to Spotlight Sessions with Justin Bamforth. The program provides an inside look at the creative field through exclusive conversations with industry professionals. Every episode is recorded live each month in the Adobe Creative Career Discord. Check out the show links to learn more and join for free. This episode was previously recorded before a live listening audience. My next guest has built a remarkable career at the intersection of photography, education, and creative leadership. Christopher Kern is a tenured professor and program coordinator of photography, as well as the Department Chair of Visual Arts and Design at California Baptist University, or CBU for short. For more than 20 years, he has worked professionally as a commercial photographer, producing work recognized by top industry publications. Christopher holds an MFA in photography from the Academy of Art University in San Francisco, and he's been teaching since 2009, influencing countless students with his research-driven, story-centered approach to visual communication. But Christopher isn't just a scholar, he's also a partner and principal of operations at Compel, a strategy, design, media, and PR agency in Riverside, California, where he works with all sorts of creative teams to bring those meaningful stories to life. And at the heart of Christopher's work is a simple but powerful truth. That great art is aspirational, yet accessible, and always rooted in people. So whether he's photographing a subject, mentoring a student, shaping curriculum, or collaborating with a creative team, he aims to serve communities and empower the next generation of visual storytellers. That's you guys. Christopher, welcome to Spotlight Sessions.
Happy to be here, and what a wonderful introduction. Appreciate that, Justin.
Well, we're excited to learn about your journey, your perspectives on creative education, and how photography continues to evolve. You know, you've been involved with this for over 2 decades, but what is it about the medium that really keeps you committed to it for this long?
Yeah, so I just actually welcomed a group of prospective students at our university today, and part of our College of Architectural, Visual Arts, and Design, we represent 9 different disciplines, and photography is my medium of practice and expertise, and while I share a love and interest of all the different creative outlets and disciplines, I can't draw, I can't paint, I can't sketch. So photography kind of found me. And what I really love about photography is you need to be present and utilize this tool to either interact with people or experience the world around you, or collaborate with another to create imagery. So it's a real lived experience, and I've been blessed to be able to, for the last 20 something years, utilize the gifts that I have and the expertise that I have to not only make a living, but be able to continue on and influence others.
Now, at what point did you realize teaching would become this major part of your career?
It's kind of, even with photography and art, it doesn't matter how much you practice, you kind of need to find your niche, and the niche kind of finds you. So in regards to teaching, I remember studying my undergraduate degree, which wasn't photography. Started out as criminal justice, became business, entrepreneurship, started studying communications. And then it wasn't until, later in my undergrad degree that I found photography and kind of made a decision to pursue that. But long story short, I remember in one of my communications and business classes, we had to, I think, do a collaborative oral presentation. And I remember my professor said, "You would be an excellent teacher." And I thought she was crazy, because I thought I completely butchered the presentation and the assignment. But I think there's just been these little Easter eggs throughout my, adult life. It's really allowed me to, kind of be where I'm at today. But what I tell my students is when you really love something and you're so curious about it, and you just spend all your time researching and practicing and studying and down the road you're going to become potentially the expert. When you speak from that experience, it just becomes natural. So, unlike that experience of, doing the oral presentation in a business class, which wasn't on a subject that, I was particularly interested in, teaching and mentoring, photography and the creative disciplines is just really, not only a calling that I have, but I love it. So I'm fascinated to, kind of have these conversations and just continue to mentor and help others navigate what they're currently working on and potentially shed some light on maybe what they should try next.
Nice. All right. So this question comes in from our moderator, Elizabeth. She asked, "What's your favorite part about teaching art and design?"
So really, I think especially being in higher education, we're within a structure of a four-year private university, which we're tasked, by the upper administration to create curriculum and programs and coursework, and there's structure to that I'm fascinated about. I come from an operations mindset, and maybe that's my business and my communication, undergrad degree coming out. So I'm fascinated about, how we could curate and facilitate these different programs. But really, it plays into after that stage has been set, when we have the opportunity to really connect with our students. Not only are we delivering information and sharing wisdom and knowledge, but really, I ask more questions than I give answers. So I learned very early on through so many of my mentors, whether it was through filmmaking or photography or art, when you could tap into your curiosity and your interest, that's where the door, really opens for, artists that create work that we're all inspired by. It's not necessarily the technique, it's about the content. Not in the content of, social media or content creation, which we think about now, but just the physical artifacts of, creating art or design.
On that note, let's get into the higher education because I think there's a lot of pressure for especially younger students to, follow the traditional 4-year program. But is it absolutely necessary to follow that plan, or are there like alternative options nowadays that you might recommend?
Yeah, there's absolutely always been alternative options, but we have to, there has to be somebody to help navigate those options for us. And that's where mentorship really comes in. So like I tell my students is, I'm by default their mentor, whether they utilize me or not, that's up to them. Half the time, the information is forced upon them and they're, assigned to do projects and what have you. But really the students that flourish are the ones that are kind of obsessed or overly curious or interested in not only using the tools of the medium that they desire, but just trying to create work that is not necessarily self-expression, but it helps them make sense of the world. So to answer your question is there's many different modalities. We're really it's about the time that an artist or student is able to dedicate to the craft. And that's the benefit of a four-year degree or, even a two-year program, or even if there's a nonprofit, through an art organization within your town. If they create a series of workshops that becomes kind of curriculum rather than just programming or coursework. There's many great opportunities there.
And just for clarification, Professor Cannon asked this: Do you teach traditional and digital photography?
I teach photography. I teach image making. That's the roundabout answer. But we're here at CBU. We're a completely digital program. But the way we teach digital is if we were teaching analog photography. So we have a ADA compliant bathroom that we use as a dark room here on campus. And
Really?
yeah, and so the students, we shoot a lot of film, we process it, we have the ability to do so. But then we do either digital DSLR or mirrorless scans on a light table and then import that directly into Adobe Lightroom and use some presets to help invert our negatives into positives. And the reality is our world is digital. Uh, but we do spend time teaching analog and traditional photography as well.
Would you take the same educational path again, knowing what you know now?
So when I been obsessed about art and design and communication and business and entrepreneurship like my whole entire life. So luckily I grew up in, I was in high school in the 90s, so I was fascinated by the internet and was an early adopter to dial-up internet and having my own PC, and designing websites and using Adobe, installing them from 53 three and a quarter floppy disks, and I remember all those things. Um, where I'm going with this is, would I choose a different path, right? I've been constantly obsessed, but I was young when so I ended up, changing my major multiple times in undergrad, and then ended up completing my degree in it was called photo communications from Cal State Fullerton, which is in Orange County or Southern California. And the reason why it was in the communications department rather than the fine art program was they were the only ones that had digital in the early 2000s. Fine art was still in the dark room, so I was fascinated about, the advent of digital photography and the internet, and so I chose that path. But I didn't learn enough. So I immediately went to grad school 2 weeks after I graduated with my bachelor's degree. And I moved to San Francisco, and I pursued my MFA in photography at Academy of Art University, which was on site and in person and in San Francisco. Uh, and I never looked back. But long story short, I might have already said that as well, but I remember being 20, I was 23 years old when I started my MFA, and I looked around and I wondered why my cohort, why the men and women were 35 years old, 45 years old, 55 years old. I didn't get it. And now looking back and oh wow, what wisdom I might be able to, pour into an MFA if I went now with all my life and lived experiences. So it took me a while to figure out, that your lived experiences, you need to pour that into your work. And the more that you have to say, this, potentially the stronger your work becomes. So I value, those older individuals from my cohort, even though at the time I thought it was interesting.
Well, the reason I ask that is, how does a student, pick a good school to attend? What should they look for?
Yeah, so when now there's offerings everywhere, right? Whether it's online or on site or, at your community college or state school or private school. There once was a day where, yeah, you had to move to San Francisco or LA or Chicago or Miami or New York, but now I honestly think the best education you could get is something that you have access to, absolutely something that fits your financial means. And that's what I would advocate for is it needs to work for you economically, regardless of how amazing something with a different sticker price may be.
Hmm. And we often hear this too in higher education, curriculum versus coursework. But what's the real difference between them? Does it really matter?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm thank you for asking that. I've spent a lot of my scholarship these days is not related to the medium or practice of photography, but about the programming of photography, not only in higher education, but just the structure around. how one could curate these experiences and this information. So I believe that curriculum is uh, the plan or the path that an institution sets for its students to be able to work through a series of courses with an intended experience, but also with an intended output. Um, Whereas coursework is just what happens within those courses. So if there's a, local community college and they have a bunch of course offerings, it doesn't necessarily mean they have a art or design or photography program. They just have classes. And you could get lost in those classes, but also all you have to do is take one of those classes and that might access just a different part of your brain and unlock what you need to be able to proceed. So I'd say that, yeah, the difference would be of a program that has a set curriculum where classes is just random offerings.
To those of you who are just tuning in now, we're speaking with Christopher Kern about his career journey, his creative journey. And not only does he teach over there at CBU, but he also has his own company called Compel. What is Compel and how did you get involved with it?
Part of the blessing of being at CBU is 9 years ago, I was recruited by Michael Berger, who's a tenured graphic design professor here at CBU. And he's probably one of the most talented designers that I've ever crossed paths with. And so I've been working alongside him within the institution for the last 9 years. And since then, we've, collaborated on, projects within our college and within our programs, and then over the years we started to collaborate unofficially on projects outside of the institution. We also have we're able to network with individuals out in the industry as well as here within the region, so we assign and create opportunities for a lot of our alumni. um, so Michael Berger and I guess a little over 2 years ago, we started Compel. And really what Compel is it gives not only him and I an opportunity to serve our local community, but also to continue to leverage that we're experts in our disciplines. And we're able to strategize with people that need our services and to tell their story, whether it's through design or branding, photography, videography, filmmaking, digital design, print design. And then we're also able to help employ and have conversations with not only our alumni, but other very talented individuals within the region.
So, what are some of the projects you've worked on, there at Compel, or more importantly, the ones that you had the most fun with?
The people that come to us, we're not trying to save a failing business. We're not necessarily trying to help a startup gain influence. People that are coming to us are actually really successful in what they do. They just don't know how to tell their story. So we come alongside them and help get their messaging out there, whether it's through updating their brand work, photo, video, print collateral. And what we've been spending the last couple of years really working on is partnering and being contractors and a vendor for not only the city of Riverside but the county of Riverside. Currently working with a couple nonprofits that are working within the community. Working on a large healthcare project right now within the region. So it's kind of shifted to just these more of a city government and county government and healthcare right now.
What's your role there? I mean, obviously, you're principal there, but For those in the audience who don't understand what that means, like what is your primary role?
Yeah, so Michael Berger and I are both partners or both principals in this business, and Michael is we're both creative, but he's more of the creative director role, whereas I utilizing that production and operations mindset. I work more behind the scenes, just making sure that we're really pushing forward and uh, exceeding the expectations of the client. So even kind of we partner with different producers to help us with some of the print, or sorry, some of the photo and video work. So just trying to coordinate with not only the clients direct, but also with our production team to make sure that the creative is fulfilling the client's needs.
When I'm at the website and I'm learning about you, I just see you and Michael. Do you have like a team, or, or do you hire freelancers, or how do you collaborate with people to get the work done?
Great question. So we do have a handful of our recent alumni and some alumni that have been a part of our graphic design program or photography programs, and they work with us pretty regularly. We are very fortunate right now to host an Adobe intern through the apprenticeship program. So we've that's been a wonderful new experience. So our Adobe intern is, in the thick of it with us right now, and we're just really blessed to be able to partner with Adobe in that regard.
I want to get into mentorship first because, you mentioned it earlier. It's been a big part of your development, and now you mentor others. But what really makes a truly effective mentor?
Yeah, I would say it's absolutely relational. So it's a relationship that both sides need to nurture. Um, and it needs to have the intent that not from a power uh, play, but there needs to be a senior to the junior, right? So somebody needs to be gifting and guiding through wisdom and knowledge, and the other needs to be seeking that information. Um, and an apprentice or a mentee, they're not doing the work for the senior. As quote unquote, most people are thinking of internships these days. They're just looking for free or cheap labor, and there's no senior to guide them through the educational process. And this would allude back to what are the opportunities for young creatives out there outside of higher education. Well, finding a great mentor is absolutely one of them. And where could these mentors be? They could be anywhere. They could be working on their laptop at the local coffee shop. They could work at a design agency. They could be a professor. They could be a high school teacher. Um, they just need to have the willingness to help nurture, the next generation. And they need to hold the next generation accountable as well. So that's part of it.
Well, how can someone like go about finding a mentor? Like what do you just randomly, find somebody on LinkedIn, message them and say, "Hey, will you be my mentor?" Or what does that look like? Because I think a lot of times it may come off as awkward, like, "Hey, I need a mentor, but I don't know where to begin. Where do I start?" What do you recommend?
Yeah, I think well, one good thing is Adobe part of their programming is they have a mentorship program as well. So Adobe's doing a great job of facilitating those seniors and juniors together. So that's kind of unheard of. The other place that might happen is maybe like in uh, a career center at either a high school or within a college system as well could kind of function like that. Um, but most of the time it would be through, I would say, like an introduction or just that very curious, the curiosity of one seeking, you know, knowledge and wisdom and asking questions. So I think the mentorship in its truest form is built out of a relationship that needs to be genuine and honest.
And the last time, you and I spoke, obviously before this interview here, you had told me that you were currently in the process of choosing between two apprentices for your company. But now that you've revealed in this interview that you actually brought one on, let me ask you, what qualities do you look for when taking on an apprentice? And what qualities do you look for when you're looking to mentor someone? Two different things.
Oh, yeah, there's a few layers to this, and also I just want to say, like, somebody's asking what defines a mentorship, right? So apprenticeship, mentorship, internship, they're all kind of same. I guess if there was a coin with three sides, that's what it would be, right? Um, but an internship is, yes, internship is something you could look on LinkedIn. It's gonna list internship on LinkedIn, let's say for Adobe. I'm just gonna say Adobe, right? So the official way to do an internship in the historic sense is an internship is usually tied to college credit. So there would be an agreement between the university and a company, in this case, their HR department. The student would pay tuition to the university, and then the student would get credit. And since that arrangement is made, then the company would not have to pay the student or the intern. So that's where the thought process of interns are free. That comes back from the media days of newspapers and news organizations. That's how they functioned. It'd be that exchange for college credit, which still I think happens within colleges of engineering and other companies that or other disciplines that still function under that premise. So internship is beware of that word, especially here in California, dating back to Assembly Bill 5 and the whole Uber conversation of are they employee or are they independent contractor? This plays into that as well. So the easiest way around it is there's probably less internships, real internships out there now because realistically, a company just needs to pay at least a minimum wage for the services done, and they can't get free work anymore.
What is an apprenticeship then?
Yeah, apprenticeship, I think, could be a facilitated mentorship, maybe. So I think dating back to the official trades of like an apprenticeship could play into most of the time, not necessarily. Actually, yeah, it'd date back to even the Renaissance of you would go work for a master artist and you would be an apprentice, and that would be your mode of going to school, would be by learning under a master. So it'd be a more of a, I guess, a structured system, whereas, that'd be the apprenticeship. And then the mentorship could be anybody at any given time. Maybe there's no time set for it. There's no semesters, no quarters, no years. You could have a lifelong mentor, or you could have many mentors throughout your career.
So an apprentice is really working hands-on with the projects, and it's a really like it's a contract, right? I mean, that's
Yeah, I guess that'd be the defining mode is, an internship or a mentorship is the junior might not be doing work at all, but yes, the apprentice is working right there with the senior and they're collaborating on projects and they're part of the collaboration and the creativity.
so hopefully audience, you get a better sense of what those three things are: the internship, apprenticeship, mentorship. Um, we have this great program that we have going on, and it's called the Creative Apprenticeship Program. And what this does is this program connects creative people like you with these top creative companies, providing that actual training and experience that Christopher was speaking about, which also looks amazing on a resume. So think of it like the ultimate internship meets mentorship opportunity. But that's not it. You see, there's this other aspect to the program, which is where it all starts. It's called the commissioned projects. And that's where you get experience working on an actual paid project with Adobe. I'm serious, Adobe as your first client. The details on the creative apprenticeship program, the commissioned projects, and more of these incredible career resources, they can all be found at behance.net/resources. That's behance.net/resources. From there, you can learn more about it. But that's how you found your apprentice, right, Christopher?
Yes, absolutely. So I think that goes back to, like, Adobe's doing this great job. They're kind of curating this experience and facilitating these opportunities, not only for, upcoming creatives, but us kind of in a more senior role. And so there were, we also on the employer side, we had to fulfill some asks of us from Adobe to be able to qualify to be able to host an apprentice through this program. But it really going back to the heart of the conversation is Adobe asked us, that for sure that we have this mentorship component to the work that we're doing so that we're going to continue to elevate uh, these junior creatives to become more senior rather than just giving them busy work.
Yeah, and let me speak to that because to those of you in the audience who are wondering, okay, well, how do I get matched up with a mentor? So what happens is if you apply to one of those commission projects and you're accepted, then Adobe will match you with a mentor, and then you begin that relationship right there. You had mentioned, Christopher, that you're mentoring someone right now. What are some of the most common questions that mentees ask you?
So I just completed my mentorship, and the thing that's interesting about all this is no matter how much Adobe is helping facilitate all this, it takes these juniors to really follow through in their professional communication and to utilize us mentees as we present ourselves to be available. So just an experience, my partner, Michael Berger, he was assigned a mentee as well. And honestly, the mentee just didn't follow through and he wasn't able to fulfill his commitment to Adobe and this mentee, not because of his shortcomings but just because uh she didn't follow through, right? Whereas on the opposite end, like, my mentee was amazing and wonderful, and we still talk even beyond um our quote unquote contracted or agreement. And the questions really are is it's not a brain dump. They kind of present to us where they're at on things, and we help them navigate, what they're currently working on, and kind of speak into that. But then also task them to, kind of move forward and try this or that to see what's able to happen next.
It's a mutual relationship, but both parties have to put the work in for it to be beneficial, correct?
Absolutely. And that's where it just becomes really relational. And, we have a lot of knowledge, but I think really the gift that Michael and I have is meeting the students or even our clients where they're at and helping them, move on to what's next. And what's next is different for everybody. Um, and sometimes it's, completely different information.
Yeah, and speaking of what's next, I'm always trying to look forward to the future. And one of the trends I see right now is this tremendous pressure for creatives to try to learn everything all at once, especially as technology and software just rapidly advances and evolves, or as companies downsize and try to fit one person into these multiple roles. But it's impossible to keep up with everything and stay relevant. But let me ask you, what is the more effective approach to learning? Is there one?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, I'm thinking of so many things as you just made that statement or asked those questions. I think back to even the introduction of video on Canon's 5D. All of a sudden there was the prompt by clients of, trying to get me to shoot video. I kind of thought about it for a second and then I never proceeded. I'm a still photographer. I'm a photographer, right? I know enough about video or film, but I don't have an interest in it as far as practicing it. So I think there is still a possibility to kind of stay within your niche and work through your discipline. And yeah, there's a lot of information and a lot of different tools out there. And I still think you could use the same handful ones. And if you're trying to tell stories and create work, I think that human connection is really what we need to double down on.
What if someone out there is approached by their employer or by a, freelance client to do something that is outside of their realm of comfort, or maybe something they don't know how to do? Is it a good idea to be someone who is a student of multiple disciplines, or is it just a better idea to stick with mastering one skill really well?
I think it all depends. It depends where you're at in your career as well, or how far you are into your aesthetic or technique or portfolio or client list, or what niche you're in. Do you want to pivot into something else? There are people that are absolutely doing that. I don't think there's one path, for everybody, but uh, I look back to just thinking through people that are at the top of their game. They do what they do really, really well. And everybody at the bottom, as we're learning, all these different tools, it's just too much, right? It's too much, time we're spending trying these things out and seeing if it works or doesn't work. And um, just I think somewhere in the middle might be good, but
How did you handle it when you were approached to start doing video?
my community is what I lean into, and that's part of why Michael Berger and I have Compel is to create a vehicle for those opportunities. Beyond my expertise in photography or his expertise in graphic design and branding, so it gives us a vehicle to tap into our community and leverage those resources. So, like, we just completed a 3-day video and photo shoot for that healthcare client, and we outsource the video to experts, right? So, because we're at a different level of our game, the clients expect a lot from us. So, rather than us kind of fumbling through it, you have to make sure you over deliver. So utilizing your community and utilizing your resources is really how you could expand. And you can't do it all. So that's the thing is like you could only do so much. There's only so much time in the day. There's only so many clients that need what you are offering. So how do you expand all that? You gotta multiply yourself. And how do you multiply that yourself is you gotta be resourceful.
Mm. Yeah, speaking of having so much time in the day, how do you balance life between working for the agency and teaching at the university?
Yeah, so a lot of it's the same conversation, and even at the university, I wear many hats. I'm a professor, first and foremost in the classroom. So I have students that are expecting, me to perform and to share information and knowledge and set them on this path. But then also, I could be their mentor and help them navigate, things inside the classroom and outside the classroom. And on top of that, I'm in charge of our photography program. And now I'm in charge of, 7 different art and design programs, but it's making sure people, so once again, like as you expand, you need to task other individuals uh, below you to also empower them to, kind of have ownership, and then that's how you're able to manage, is, it's just utilizing and managing a lot of different resources. So the balance between, what happens, as I'm a full-time faculty, on a 12-month contract, that's my 9 to 5 and then some. But what we do for Compel, in my capacity, I'm able to do kind of, behind the scenes, and then also task and hire out, the productions for those uh, through our resources.
What is the role of visual storytelling today? And how has that evolved from when you started?
I think this is like the curse for me. Is I remember, going back to, why did I do business? Why did I do communications? Why did I do entrepreneurship? So my undergraduate degree is in photo communications from Cal State Fullerton. And what I knew of photography at that time was, either you were a photojournalist, you're a documentary photographer, you're a wedding photographer, or you were a corporate, headshot photographer. And then there was this wild, crazy thing like a fashion photographer, right? So I had no interest in the first 5 or 6 offerings. So I wanted to be a fashion photographer because it was artistic and there was expression, and there were cool things happening with photography. So I did that for like 10 years, and I was successful at it. Worked up in San Francisco as a portrait, lifestyle, fashion, beauty photographer. Um, and then, my role shifted of, servicing bigger clients, and started doing more lifestyle and portrait work for tech and healthcare, and, just bigger companies. But what I learned early on was just what you could do with photography. Um, so my undergrad degree is in photo communications. All my professors were LA Times photojournalists, or Orange County Register, which was the Orange County, publication. They were either photojournalists or photo editors, and I I hated my undergrad degree because it was all photojournalism and nothing was like cool or exciting. I was like 20, 21 years old. So that's where, interested in advertising, and fashion photography was just so much more interesting. But long story short is, everything is about telling your story, right? So even I look back now and I'm like, oh, all those captions we had to write. Well, guess what? Guess what? That's the Instagram, comments,
Ah,
right? Or
right.
those are our LinkedIn posts now, or that's what we need to put on, yeah, LinkedIn, is kind of how do we tell our story. So I think everybody, all those words and all that context is now more important than ever, because also because the visual image is just, it's so, there's too much out there, right? Like it's not about like that one image anymore that like is going to stop you dead in your tracks. Like we're seeing more imagery every day than people would see in 100 years, um, which is crazy. So I think about the substance of, yeah, what are you trying to tell through your photography or design work or art? Who are you serving? Are you serving yourself, or are you serving others? So I really think it's about whose story you're trying to tell. It can't be, I mean, you could do a good job telling your own PR, but as soon as you turn that lens onto something else and honor them, and trying to utilize your gifts to bring awareness to an organization or a cause or a small business, that's going to amplify things. So telling those stories.
let's move into portfolios because I know this is something that a lot of creatives have a tough time with. What makes a great portfolio today? Is there anything that should be included or things that shouldn't?
From a specifically from a photography, uh, mindset is the people reviewing those portfolios. They want to see the photographer's point of view. It goes back to their curiosities and their interests, and what are they telling through their imagery? What are they investigating? It's about this, yeah, it's about the stories and the series and the projects that they're engaging with. Long gone are the days where you could have a really slick looking still life and then a cool looking portrait and then a nice architecture piece. That's how many of us studied, photography in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and even today. It doesn't do us any good, just being that technician, right? So I think it's even if your skills or your technique isn't like the best, if you're telling stories that kind of resonate or it evokes some interest or curiosity in the viewer, that's going to open up doors. So it's going to be about bodies of work, and different projects, and that's what your portfolio you should start to allude to. And then as you step back, the more you work through and create that work, you're going to use the tools of your medium in a very particular way, and that's going to start to come through in your work. So aesthetically cohesive your work becomes, and that's important for very important for your portfolio.
Once you have that killer portfolio put into place, or maybe your portfolio lives on Instagram, how should creatives promote their work without coming across as like salesy or spammy?
Yeah,
Because I've noticed this frequently, right? People are just like copying and pasting. They're taking a template that someone else already created. They're reformatting it for themselves. It's inauthentic. It's annoying. What are some tips you'd recommend?
preach, man, preach, you're preaching to the choir. So first, like the portfolio doesn't stop, right? So you can never like set in its place. Here at CBU, we print everything, so our students end up printing a portfolio. We have Canon Pro 1000s. We print on archival matte paper. I get it scored, I get it drilled. We have custom portfolios. The pages are interchangeable. We're updating our portfolios at least for that last semester before they graduate. And then the alumni come back and they update their portfolios after they graduate as a resource to them. So the physical book print still lives. That's a thing, right? So print lives. We all thought it was going to die with digital. It's definitely scaled back, but like, to me, like photography isn't photography until it's printed, whether that's through the traditional darkroom process in our ADA compliant bathroom or, on the inkjet printer or on a digital offset, as a bound book or loose sheets. So that's one way, right? So going back to the relationships, every spring we host portfolio reviews and we get people here on site and we facilitate like speed dating style portfolio reviews. So that's one way they present their work. We also, since COVID, which I still do, is on another day I schedule out Zoom portfolio reviews. So then they show their website or they show a pre-curated PDF that they had designed through like Adobe InDesign. So there's that method, and then just going back to like um, the burden of being a communications major of just promoting your work is we're using LinkedIn a lot, so treating every project or every portfolio or every assignment as its own opportunity to push out there onto LinkedIn or Instagram, and just kind of like package it up and kind of tell that story. That's another method. But really, it comes down to the relationships you start to build and nurture, and try and get in front of the people that you want to work for. Not that you want to work for it because it would be cool or awesome or amazing, but you want to work for it because your work already resonates with that audience. So, one really great thing about our program is well, we tap into the students' curiosities and their interests, and then we build their portfolios based on that. So even in a single cohort, no two students have any of the same assignments in their portfolios, none of the same work. They all have different stories they're telling. So I think the variety of work is, kind of what people are looking for. And that's just going to be a matter of time, time for somebody to have the right project for you. Um, and then that's how you get your chance. And then you could build that relationship and expand upon it.
To learn more about tonight's guest, Christopher Kern, you can check out his company's website at compel.media. That's COMPELLE.media. Or you can connect with him on LinkedIn. There's a lot of opportunities that we're trying to do here in this server. And we're trying to make it easy for you to connect with those creative professionals to get your foot in the door. And, we mentioned tonight the Adobe Creative Apprenticeship Program. You guys got to check that out. It's at behance.net/resources. It is so beneficial, especially if you're new to the creative industry in general. From there, you complete one of the free courses under the career guides section. Then you set up your Behance page with some design pieces that you've created. Add some info about yourself, make it look good, stand out. Think of it like a mini portfolio site that you would send out to prospective employers. Then you can apply to one of those paid commissioned projects. New ones are always being added, so check back daily if you don't see something that aligns with your interests. But after you apply, each application is reviewed by a real live human being. It's not an AI algorithm, and the ideal candidate is chosen based on their pitch in that application and the quality of their Behance page. It's only open to students, recent grads, early career creatives reside in the US, UK, and Canada as of now. But if you're selected for a commissioned project, then you are provided the opportunity to connect with one of the amazing mentors that we have on the team, people like Christopher. These are amazing mentors that we've hand selected to be on the team, and they are vetted industry pros that are there to give you feedback and guidance in your career journey. I cannot tell you how invaluable that resource is, and it's free, and it's something that most schools just don't offer. So that's why we're partnering with them. Once you complete that commissioned project, now you're eligible for the creme de la creme, the Creative Apprenticeship Program. That's the final step. It's the top tier step, and very few will get into. It's a lot more limited, but you get to potentially work with some amazing employers on some actual projects. Catherine Chu, my show producer here, says we have 175 mentors, including Christopher Kern, including Michael Berger, both from Compel. There's a lot of great people here. They're working with you. It's not like an internship where you're doing boring, mundane work. This is actual, real, exciting projects you're contributing to and being a part of. So don't miss out on all of this. Behance.net/resources for more details. Christopher, let me ask you something. Where you teach, CBU, it's a private Christian university, but your students come from all different backgrounds. How do you create an environment that truly serves everyone?
Yeah, I think something special we have for sure. And I've spent my whole artistic career, creative career, just really being fascinated and thankful for how amazing the community can be. If you find the right community, right? There's definitely those toxic outliers, but I've always been so fascinated on, photography industry and just how their sense for community and willingness to support one another, not gatekeeping, and being here at CBU is kind of no different, except, as Christians, we, honor God and try and glorify Him in everything we do. Um, the least we could do is just lead with love and compassion and be open. And when I talk about service, we have our reasons why we serve, but I firmly believe as visual communicators and visual storytellers that you're going to get a lot more mileage out of your work as if you're honoring and telling, other people's stories. And not only is the imagery going to be stronger and more interesting, but that's how people advocate for your work is through your willingness to honor them and to be able to honor them through, your creativity, and then also to package that up and just really, create honest work about them. And that's how you're going to get the next job, is somebody's going to recommend you for that opportunity. So I've always said work breeds work. Work doesn't necessarily mean it's paid, but if you treat everything as a professional and just lead with that love and compassion and ability to serve the community, and the community could just be your local neighborhood or a nonprofit or your church or your school. It could be anything. So just yeah, just being open and just trying to create and facilitate a safe space too. So now we're talking about higher education, and I have physical facilities, we have digital facilities, we have tools, and but really it's about just being a good host and a good steward of these resources, and to create a safe environment so that people could try, right? Could try and create work and could try to tell a story, could try to fail. Uh, it's just that's where the mentorship comes in.
As you mentioned earlier, you're someone who's deeply committed to the Christian faith. And as I am, as listeners to this program know that I am too, but we've had opportunities and projects present themselves that don't necessarily align with our belief system or our values. But to those in the audience who might be struggling with the same thing, how should creatives handle projects that could challenge or even conflict with their personal beliefs, whatever those beliefs may be?
Yeah, I mean, something first you have to think about the safety of yourself. And, if you're in the profession, you got to think about the safety of your crew and just that whole experience. And you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're going to be unsafe. So that's one thing to look out for. But as far as like your moral compass and, asking you to sacrifice your ideals or your faith, you don't have to say yes, right? So you could kindly decline, or you also, it's an opportunity to really change a conversation. And once again, that's where I think, how can we reframe this to like honor what they're trying to do? And sometimes, it's on a topic or subject matter or a company or whatever, that just completely, goes against what your moral compass is telling you to do. And you could just respectfully decline, or you could also be a good steward, and um, you could recommend them to somebody that might not have the same convictions as you, right? So, I mean, that's another thing, is like, people still need good, honest work. And I think that's a way we could kind of help navigate that. But you could be the light amongst darkness.
There you go. Let me ask you this: when is it okay to take a job just for the money, and when should a creative just walk away?
One in grad school, the director of the photo program. And there's different variations of this, but he said there's the three P's. So you either do a project because you're going to do it for profit. You do a project if you're going to do it for your portfolio, or you're going to do it for promotion. Right. So profit is you're just doing it for the paycheck. As a business, you need the money, right? Um, Portfolio means it's going to end up in your portfolio and stay in your portfolio for a really long time. A promotion could be, back in the days, and maybe you did editorial work and you're going to get a cover of a magazine or a nice spread within that. But the pay was nil. So you'd have to make a decision on that. So profit, portfolio, or promotion. And the real winner of it all, and it doesn't happen all the time, but this is the goal, is that it's all three always, right? So the people at the height of their game or within the profession or discipline, they're always doing work for profit, portfolio, and promotion, right? But it could be a win if you just get one of those, but that's up to you and you don't have to accept it, right? So that's a thing, especially as being as a freelancer in a small business, it's up to you. Um, and if you want to reveal to them why you're declining a project, you can, or you could just decline. So those are things to navigate. So many times, you could walk away from a project if you don't want to do it. And just what I learned over the years too is like if you don't want to do a project because it's not going to be in your portfolio and it's not going to be for promotion, and you really don't want to do it because the money's not going to be worth it, like put a higher price fee to it. But then on the flip side of that, I've done that before and I ended up getting the job anyways, and then I had to do it. So, it's a game. There's no method to this madness, or I've always said there's no business, to the business.
Wise words. As creatives, we tend to be highly observant, all right, because we pay attention to the details in life, much to the dismay of our friends and family whenever we obsess over those details. But more importantly, we observe how design trends tend to reflect society and societal views. So, what trends do you see emerging in the next decade here? Is there anything that stands out to you, Christopher?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go about answering this in a different way, but I remember early on teaching, especially as you mentor students, they want to emulate the current trends, right? They want to emulate the current styles, or they want to emulate somebody's portfolio. That's a missed opportunity because that person's already done that. So where do the next trends come from? The next trends come from the people in art school just nerding out and creating work and like not thinking about it, and they're just like obsessed about it and so curious and so interested, and then all of a sudden you look back and they have like this amazing portfolio and body of work, and then they get some promotion and then it's out there, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh my gosh, this person's amazing. Well, they are, because they've done the work, right? So we don't know where these next trends are, but as we know, things cycle through. I mean, an example is, what's on the news this week is what's the new Apple TV startup screen logo is actually not CGI, but it's actually filmed in camera through gels and light and liquid glass. So with all the advancements of AI right now, uh, Apple just took it old school and did it all in camera, which was probably like 100 times more expensive and 300 times more work. And so as a creative, like you're the trendsetter. If you're following other people, then you're just kind of like a monkey, emulating what's already been done.
Yeah, and Andre in the show chat says that's the way I think I deal with the imposter syndrome, but I'm working on my video edition, studying more about VFX. All right, so Besides AI, which I'm sure we can all agree on, we are absolutely sick of hearing about at every freaking turn. But what other skills do you think will really matter most for the next generation of visual artists?
I think we're there right now, and I think what's really lacking is the students' curiosity and interest and their drive. And what I mean by that is you have to be hungry and you have to nerd out about this stuff, and you have to be like, even when I ask my students, I'm like, what do you think about? Like, they might list off 100 things, and nowhere on there is photography, right? Like, so you got to flip that, and you got to kind of like nerd out about some of these things, because that's what's going to continue to drive you. So even just going back to the note on there's 175 mentors and all these opportunities. Michael Berger and we told all our students about the mentee mentorship and apprenticeship program, and only like two people submitted an application or have done the work. So there's many more that they just don't like. When we open a door for them, they don't know to walk in it, right? They don't even peek in the through the crack. So I don't know what's going to fix that, to be honest with you, but I think that's where we're at, is just them kind of committing and kind of moving forward.
What makes a truly powerful photograph?
So the technique and the aesthetics, they become assumed. They either work or they don't work, right? So if it doesn't work, then it becomes a roadblock, and people don't see past that. Or, um, yeah, so that's the first, hurdle to get through. So it's just assumed that everything kind of looks good and professional these days, right? But it really comes down to the viewer. The viewer has to have a connection with it. So there's all different, completely large scale of what your audience is. It could be just geared towards, say it's a portrait of a child. That audience is really geared towards the mother. Does the mother love it? Yes or no, right? And then does the family love it? Yes or no? But then, in that same context, if it's a commercial application, it's a much larger audience that needs to accept that. So, but I think it's an emotional value that it needs to just hit this emotional node. But I also think it needs to allow the viewer to ask more questions uh, than what is answered, right? So there needs to be that curiosity.
This is a very urgent question that just came in through the chat. This comes in from Gracie, who is debating whether or not to partner up with a photographer who bases decisions off of the profit margins, focusing very little on personal detail and style, and totally on traditional perfectionism. He could use Gracie's help when he's out of the country, and she would also take on most of the software handling. She wants access to the collection of photo equipment he's built over the years, but is still debating whether or not she should partner up with this photographer. What do you think?
I think the hesitation might already be the answer. But it kind of goes back to the it's about the relationship, right? So there's uh, so it's art and science, right? Or it's art and business. It's two completely different things, but both need to make sense. So I mean, long story short is, through my careers, I had a couple artist reps. The first one, uh, it was like we were in love, right? She totally understood who I was as an artist and helped mentor me and nurture that. But the business was bad, right? So on the flip side of that, she went bankrupt and then I went bankrupt, early in my career. And then years later, is I got another rep. and that rep was all business, and they didn't get me at all. And that relationship didn't work out because they sent me on a path that I ended up creating work that I had no interest in, and nothing really came of it. So I think there needs to be, through this relationship, I think there needs to be the balance of, yes, the business needs to be good, but it also, we're dealing with the artistic medium, and it just has to work. There's a lot of other ways to run, to think about business in the business sector that would make sense based off of, just purely data. But if it's only off of data and resources, I think there's other ways around that partnership.
There you go. Hopefully that answers your question, Gracie. And Christopher, what final piece of advice would you offer to students and emerging creatives that are trying to find their place in this really highly competitive and very concentrated visual arts world?
Yeah, I'd kind of say that there's room for everybody. Uh, it just you just need to carve out your little niche, and it takes time, and you need to continue to stay curious and yeah, curiosity, and just you need to have a drive that is just unmeasured. It's not something you could. It's not a data point. It just needs to be something where your curiosity feeds your drive, and just think about so I use this term longevity, right? So throughout your career or your lives as creatives, it takes time, and during that time there's a lot of relationships to be had. Some of them stick with you for a long time, and some are for very brief moments, and some relationships you end on a bad note, and hopefully the others you continue on a good note. But they all inform your process. So everything bad, informs what you do good. So I would just say stay curious.
What's the best way for listeners to connect with you if they want to follow your work or reach out after the show? I know we have a lot of links, but what do you prefer?
I personally love LinkedIn, or email as well. I'll just put an email in the chat, but any one of those they all go to my same devices. So
There we go. That about wraps it for this episode of Spotlight Sessions. I want to thank Christopher Kern for joining us tonight to discuss his career journey. Hopefully, you guys learned something from it and gained some fantastic insight and wisdom. Be sure to connect with Christopher on LinkedIn or check out his company at compel.media. If you enjoyed this program, catch all the latest updates for the next Spotlight Sessions and all the great content we have here in the Adobe Creative Career Discord by following the upcoming events calendar at the top of the server so you can see what's coming next. I also want to thank my producer, Catherine Chu, Lisa Temple, live moderator, Elizabeth, and the entire Adobe crew for sponsoring this program and helping to bring it alive. And thank you, Discord community, and everyone who tuned in to listen to me, your host, Justin Bamforth. You can always catch me on Discord, LinkedIn, or my website, justinbamforth.com. Until next time, everyone, take care.
thank you so much.
For more conversations with creative professionals, subscribe to the Spotlight Sessions podcast or check out the Adobe Creative Career Discord. Links are posted in the show notes.